welcome to the podcast. Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell the people who you are and what you do.
I am Boomerang TKO. I make videos about YouTube. Nah, I'm just kidding. I saw the other guy do that and I wanted to make the same joke. It's a sick joke. Props to you, Coin guy.
Coin Plant.
Coin Plant.
Coin Plant.
I'll have to look him up.
Coin Plant does a
Daniel
lot of
Fiala.
shitpost, by the way. Coin Plant does a lot of shitpost.
That's great. My name is Daniel Fiala. That's Fiala. I'm on YouTube. I make hopefully funny videos. I think they're funny. That's me.
Daniel. What? That's such a typical name.
You know, you say that, but everyone in America says I have a weird name.
Nah, that's like a Daniel is like there's a meme about Daniels. Damn Daniel.
Oh, that's true. Daniel's a very, very typical name. I get people asking a lot of questions about Fiola, though.
Oh, okay. That's probably Italian or something like that, right?
Everyone guesses Italian. It's actually Czech.
Ah, yeah. I lived in Prague for a while.
Oh, no way. Huh.
Yeah.
I've never been to the Czech Republic at all. I don't know that part of my roots very well.
Yeah, the Czech Republic is, I would say, pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, avoid any Fiolas because they're nuts. If they're anything like American Fiolas.
Is that like a big Fiala gang? Big Fiala family?
Oh, man. My grandparents had 10 kids. So it's a lot of Fiolas. And they're nuts.
Wow. Okay. I mean, my human surname is like pretty widespread in Brazil and Portugal. That's very.
Are you in Brazil or?
No, I'm Germany. But I'm Germany, but I was born in Brazil.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, your accent isn't distinctively German.
Yeah, my accent is just nothing. It's just like, is he maybe Indian? Maybe Spanish? Maybe French? Who knows?
I got a little bit of Spanish and Brazil a little bit. I'm no accent connoisseur though, so I'm not going to try to.
Nobody guesses it right. It's just like all my languages. I explained this a few times, but all my languages are basically just completely fucked when it comes to pronunciation because my German doesn't sound specifically German. It sounds like he has like a completely neutral sound. It doesn't sound German, but doesn't sound anything else either. But then you can hear certain pronunciations are like Spanish, maybe Turk, something like that. And then Portuguese is just completely fucked. It's like, oh, some things are perfect, and the other, I don't know, 50% is like, oh, he sounds German or he sounds European. So all my languages.
How many languages do you speak?
Portuguese, English, and German. And now I'm learning Japanese.
Citizen of the world, as you said on CoinPlant's interview.
Yeah, you have to learn quick a few languages when you're traveling around.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you don't speak the language doesn't mean you won't go into prison. You know, space prison can be fucking hard.
I believe it.
Oh my god, there's so many when Europeans go to other countries and then they do something and they just land in prison because it's like it's totally normal in Europe, but it's like absolutely not normal in somewhere else.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And the same thing goes for I think Americans, right?
Well, I'm not very well traveled personally. I've been through a ton of states, but I haven't been out of the country very much. So I couldn't tell you.
Why? Why do that's the thing I hear a lot. Like Americans live the country is so big that you can drive for hours and you're still in the same state. Like if you drive for a few hours in Europe, you're like in the next country. Like you drive 2 hours and you're like in Czech Republic. You drive another 2 hours and you're in Romania. You drive another hours and you're in Hungary, like something like that.
Yeah, there's a bit of a misconception about Americans as being poorly traveled of the world because, as you pointed out, so many of us, we don't travel outside the country.
Because it's so big.
There's a lot of, it's so big. And there's a lot of pretty scholarly thought about the concept of America as actually being 5 different countries. If you held it up to European standards, if you judge the change in culture by the same change in culture between countries in Europe, in America, the culture changes dramatically between regions. And so one can still experience many different cultures just in the States.
Yeah.
That's not to say I don't wish I could travel more, but for the time being, I've only been in the States.
I would argue you don't even have the same language. Like, sure, it sounds similar. It sounds like English, but, someone from the Southwest and someone from the fucking coast doesn't speak the same English.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've lived in California, Arizona, and Pennsylvania, and living in Pennsylvania, it wasn't a full language. I won't pretend I'm bilingual or anything, but there was a bunch of linguistics I needed to pick up to be able to better communicate with the people.
Because let's say it's the same thing like American Brits. Sure, it's the same language, but there will be a lot of like miscommunication if you don't speak like British English. It sounds the same. You can communicate like basically, but it's not the same language. It's the same thing with Portuguese from Brazil and Portuguese from Portugal. Those are like definitely the same language, but it's not quite the same. There will be misunderstandings.
Yeah. It feels like different tongues, if not different languages. It's like bread, like bread. Everything tastes the same pretty much, but there's brown bread and white bread and like toast. You can cook it and you can boil it. It's boiled bread. That's probably right. There you go. I've never heard of anyone boiling bread. That's crazy.
You can boil everything, right?
That's true. You can boil bread if you want.
You can boil your computer as well. It's totally fine.
Yeah, you could.
So, I don't know. Like, I want to jump in a few things because 2 weeks is a lot of time to pass. And normally I have this like every week or like every 2 weeks. Let's talk about your channel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's.
So you make parodies, like movie parodies, right? Like short movie parodies. That's one of the major things you do on your channel.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't called them parodies myself, but they are. That's true.
Let's call them skits.
Yeah, that's what I think of them as.
Okay. Skits inspired by popular media.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I think of them as. Yep.
And the one thing, I think the first one I saw was the Simba one, where it's basically the use of the green screen was like the thing that like immediately jumped out, and the low budget stuff, because I love this. I love this when it reminds me of something of old YouTube. It's like just a guy in his bedroom with a green screen and a computer, and it's like I love this. Everything that's ever produced, I'm like, fuck that. Like, I don't need this shit. Yeah.
Well, I'm producing them as much as I can, but there's only so far. You're right. It's old YouTube. There's only so far I'm able to go. I don't have the budget of anybody else, and I definitely use that to my advantage. Like I'm able to just be completely serious with certain jokes, but because of the nature of the format, it's funny.
Yeah.
Like my second most recent one, where I just pretended to be a preacher for that crazy woman's.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that one, I just played that completely serious, but I'm just a dude using a green screen, and therefore it's stupid and it's funny. So thank you. That's a good observation. I guess I am tapping into the same ethos as old YouTube.
maybe I'm just like a big YouTube boomer that says, "Oh, back in the days where people were unprofessionals, I loved it, and now I don't because people are professionals and I hate professionals." Maybe I'm just being a big YouTube boomer. But
That's all right.
but yeah, I definitely think there are. Oh, okay. This is maybe where my brain splits apart. I think the business part of YouTube back in the days, because back then you have like big MCNs and so on. The business YouTube now, the business side of YouTube is completely fucked because of decisions that were made in the past, especially with like big corporations that nobody fought against their overwhelming power, and there was no like regulation and so on. Because of decisions in the past, that's why the YouTube landscape about copyright and so on is fucked. On the other hand, the content was more not identifiable. It was more, people were more free. There was no like someone screen testing this stuff. I guess I'm just gonna make it. Just gonna make a camera, grab my buddy, and make something. And if it's funny, it's funny. If it's not, it's not.
The concept of the algorithm wasn't on creators' minds. There wasn't like what's going to play well, what's going to get demonetized. They weren't concerning themselves with the same things. Their concerns were 100% on the actual content.
Yeah, and I'm sure
it's just not anymore.
Yeah. But what did you experience so far? Like, what's I don't know. Like, I definitely have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. Every time I log on the site, I'm like, I love this site. I'm like, I hate this site.
It's exactly the same for me. It's like a grind, and I see my friends. Two of them have blown up so far. TheBoyJohn and James Miller, who both 100% deserve it.
Yeah,
I think they're fantastic channels.
TheBoyJohn, please come on the podcast. I have asked you, but you have not answered my questions. You ghosted me. You sick fuck.
You sick fuck, TheBoyJohn. And you could just drive over to his place in Germany.
Yeah,
you're in Europe.
I can literally drive. I've been talking to Craig Beckett because we before the whole Corona thing started, I actually wanted to fly over there. And have a quick filming session. But then the Corona.
You were actually going to go to Craig?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was kidding. I didn't realize you could actually just drive to the UK.
Yeah, I can it's an 1 hour flight or something like that.
What? That's God, I gotta go to Europe. That sounds fun.
Yeah, and the whole Corona thing then hit, and it's like, yep. Maybe we shouldn't meet, and especially because UK is like shut off from the rest of Europe because they still have like big lockdown. Whatever, but
TheBoyJohn and Danny Rawner have made that like an advantage with their collabs. They're doing great work by making a joke out of how hard it is to make collaborative YouTube videos.
Yeah. Here's the thing, TheBoyJohn Fulham, I think I've been supporter since like, I don't know, like 50 subscribers, something like that, because I search for like small YouTubers. And Danny, I still don't know. I'm like, some stuff I really like, and like the rest, I'm like, I cannot, I don't understand. And I have a few creators like this. I'm like, I watch this. I'm like, I don't understand. And other stuff, I'm like, cool.
Yeah, TheBoyJohn's got a different sense of humor than me for sure. And I didn't totally get it, but even the stuff I don't get, I guess I get that culturally in his society that he's in, that he's still killing it. Because I've also watched Jackmate, who I totally don't get. He's even more alien to me than TheBoyJohn. But I can see their overlap, and it's almost like both of them are considered very, very funny YouTubers. Culturally, they're different than me.
Yeah.
And TheBoyJohn almost seems like the bridge between Jackmate's sense of humor and my more American sense of humor, and he manages to appeal to both the crowd in his country and a little bit to me. I would say I always appreciate the artistic quality of his videos. He puts a lot of effort into them, and they're well made. But I don't always laugh out loud at the humor, except when sometimes I just do. Sometimes he really nails it for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As people know, I'm German, so I don't find jokes funny. So.
I have heard that about you German folk. I'm like 40% German in heritage, and so I also don't enjoy humor at all.
Yeah, everything you're listening when I laugh, I'm literally like faking it for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a voice recorder here, and I spent a lot of time one day trying to perfect the perfect laugh, and every time I'm laughing to you, I'm just playing that.
Exactly.
The same exact recording of my laugh.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. Like, it's not difficult for me to laugh, but I don't find things funny.
Wait, you're serious? I was totally kidding.
No. Like, I'm serious. It's not difficult for me to laugh, but my brain can actively not like. My brain is like that's why I'm so difficult for me to make jokes, because I'm like I'm delivering this wrong, right? Like in my head, I'm like, this is the wrong delivery. I have a problem with irony, understanding irony.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had I was like getting there, but when I try to, and the internet helps actually, because on the internet nobody understands jokes and irony.
That's true.
Especially when you write on Twitter or whatever. So when I try to deliver like a joke on any platform, I try to make it as clear as possible. Like, it's clearly a joke. I'm laughing for you guys. This is clearly a joke, right?
Well, that's almost what everyone has to do nowadays, because you can get canceled for any
joke?
kind of joke, and not just like jokes in poor taste, just jokes that are not clearly jokes to everyone.
Yeah. I think someone said.
I mean, we don't have to do that.
Nah.
We don't. Us under 1,000 subscribers, people aren't about to get canceled.
Well,
but, yeah.
Well, I would put it like this, right? Cancel culture is for someone that already has success, meaningless, and for someone that is small, it's career shattering. That's how it is. But that's like how I don't want to talk too much about politics, but that's how everything is. The more money you have, the more just your world is. The less money you have, the more fucked you are.
I don't understand how. It seems confusing to me how the discussion on cancel culture just can't acknowledge that there's two different things. It seems like there's a movement to say cancel culture doesn't exist.
No, that's not true.
We're actually just delivering justice when you fuck up. And anyone who says cancel culture is a problem is a celebrity who wants to get away with racist comments. And then the other side, some people want to say that we need to stop canceling people altogether. Cancel culture is a wretch on society, and it ruins lives. And just the plain old reality is both are true.
Yep.
Some celebrities are just trying to just cry cancel culture to get out of the racist shit they said. Yep. Meanwhile, when it happens to somebody with no platform, their life gets ruined. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. They didn't mean the thing they were saying. They were making a joke.
Yep.
Or whatever, and their life gets ruined.
Because cancel culture is not something new. Like, there was this one woman, someone wrote even a book about it. On the flight from America to Africa.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, she made like a racist joke. She was just racist. But she didn't.
Well, it wasn't.
But it was not meant for the general public. It was meant for her buddies. And it's like, it was like racist in the sense of, yes, of course, but it wasn't like, oh, he's like a fucking N-word. It was just like, the joke was basically, don't worry, I'm white, I don't get AIDS. That was the joke.
Yeah, I remember. Justine,
it's a poor taste.
Sacco?
Yeah.
Justine Sacco, she tweeted, I looked it up right now, yeah. I don't have a perfect memory, but I was thinking of the exact same thing. She said, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Yeah. Just kidding. I'm white.
I'm white.
And I mean, you were already saying it.
Yeah.
But she was unplugged the whole time and didn't know she was canceled for it.
She lost her job. She lost her, I think her boyfriend left her or something like that. Like, just her whole life basically got turned upside down. When she came back, she had basically PTSD. Because, people think, oh, you can get PTSD from, social media. Of course you can. If your life gets destroyed, of course you can.
You can get PTSD from sitting in your bed if you're having a bad LSD trip. I mean, anything can give you PTSD depending on your state of mind.
And her life got basically destroyed. I think she's fine now, but she's still suffering, from some rando finds the story and sends her a fucking hate email or something like that.
And for some of the context, she only had under 200 followers. I could be wrong about that number. But even though that, she reached out, people who reached out to her to actually try to get her story and stuff. Yeah. Of them, some of them reported, and you don't have to believe it, I guess, but I fully believe it. Some of them reported her explanation, which was she sees the insensitivity towards people with AIDS and struggling third world nations.
Yeah.
And she was trying to satire that. She was trying to call out the insensitivity that white people have, this isn't my problem.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't get across when you read the tweet. Yep. It doesn't seem like that.
And that is why
people misunderstanding it.
Yeah. That's why I always put a GIF, or that's why I will put a GIF or a joke, or extra in parentheses, this is a joke, or this is irony, or this is supposed to. That's why I I always try to, when it's someone will misunderstand this. So I have to make it clear, this is a joke. This is not meant to be taken seriously. Because if you don't, I see I explained this in a video before, but I see communication in three different levels. But level one is or three different dimensions, and the first dimension is just the meaning. Words have meaning, and that's it. Then the second one is the sound, how you deliver it, how I stress a certain word, or how a sentence is built. And then the last dimension is basically when you can see my face, so I can see my mimic, or you can see my how I move my hands or something like that. That's the third dimension. So there's always three dimensions to communication, and on Twitter you have only two. It's purely two-dimensional. Mm-hmm. So there's the whole, when she had delivered the joke in a stand-up environment, she would say, "Oh, next week I'm flying to Africa." Ah, just kidding. I'm white, right? That's has a completely different meaning.
And you could have gotten across.
Yeah, the meaning of the sentence changes completely depending how she stresses the words that are written. So I believe her. But it's not.
I fully believe it too. Hearing what the video I watched was from somebody who had reached out to her and gotten this information, and I fully believed it. The way she described it, I was like, oh yeah, I could see how that you would have meant it that way.
Yeah. And on the other side, you have someone like Kevin Spacey.
Oh gosh.
That basically groomed the child, and then said, and then said, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And then everyone looked around and said, yeah, and what does one has to do with the other?
Yeah,
it's
that's pretty offensive to gay people. Yeah,
yeah. It's
I may have raped a child, but don't worry, I've decided to live life as a gay man now.
that's ridiculous, right? And then you have, of course, on the one side you have such people, but Kevin Spacey still earns millions a year. And he will see more money in his lifetime than I will ever make. So you decide.
True.
Who got
Have
canceled.
You seen his YouTube videos?
Oh no, I just don't like Kevin Spacey as a person.
He has two videos that he released. Mm-hmm. One is called "Let Me Be Frank," and it's It's him cooking Christmas dinner as Frank from House of Cards.
Yeah.
I guess he's definitely he's doing the exact same thing that he would while acting that role, but it's like a dramatic aside that Frank would do to the camera and speak straight into the camera, and like it's very House of Cards, where Frank would like look into the camera and sort of accuse you of being complicit in the American dream and the failure. Yeah, because you wanted to watch, you wanted him to do this, but he's saying all that as Kevin Spacey.
Wow.
And he's saying like, you wouldn't condemn a man without proper trial, would you? You wouldn't assume guilt before you had the evidence presented, would you? And he's just being weird and accusatory to the viewer while cooking. And then it plays the worst sound effect ever. That dun dun dun. It plays that sound effect, and then it's over. And then a year later, he released... It was the creepiest video I'd ever seen. But he released a creepier video about a year later. I think it was also during Christmas time. I could be wrong. And in this next video, instead of addressing you, the common man, he's addressing his fellow celebrities. And he's doing it sort of as Frank. Again, he's veiling a threat against all rich people. He's like, well, now, if you were going down, you wouldn't let the people taking you down off easy, would you? I don't remember what he's saying, but he's basically threatening, if I go down, everything I know is coming out. And it's super weird. Oh. And he's using metaphors and analogies so that it can't be submitted in a court of law, but he's literally he just released a video publicly so that anyone that he has dirt on will know.
Shut the fuck up.
You better fight for me. You better hope I get out of this.
Yeah. That's kind of sick.
So weird.
That's kind of sick. I mean, that's probably why he played Frank so good, because he's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah. He'd been method acting that role for years before they approached him.
Yeah. I mean, I hate conspiracy theories, because I think you get in areas where like I'm definitely not an expert in. I have no idea. You can't read minds and so on. But the shit you hear from Hollywood, it's like, of course there are like people like of course there are like dealings that are not completely legal. Underage stuff is definitely something. There are too many child actors for that not to be the case. You have like creepy Nickelodeon producers, like the one that like feeds and so on. So even if it's not completely illegal handling, it's definitely creepy behavior from so many like higher ups. It's basically adults trying to squeeze out money from children. So clearly there is something like going on there, like in the background.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be only the like deep conspiracy theorists that would talk about it, but with Epstein getting arrested and the Me Too movement, we now know like it's not a good town. They're doing some weird shit down in Hollywood.
The real conspiracy theory is if you think that Epstein killed himself. That's the real conspiracy.
Oh yeah, and that's where we're at. That's where we're at with our society.
Yeah,
no one actually thinks Epstein killed himself,
because
everyone knows he was killed by somebody.
I mean, someone with a lot of money probably and a lot of to lose.
But that's where American society is at right now. Is as long as you pay the right people to say, no, it was a suicide, every American citizen can know you're lying, and they have no power.
Yeah.
Currently in America, the American public has no power, to the point where if you just pay the guard to say, it was a suicide, and then you pay the doctor to say it was a suicide, then you got away with it. Even if you fooled no one. You don't actually have to fool people anymore.
The thing is,
because people don't have power.
Yeah, the thing is, there is public information about the whole case, and you can like look into the court documents, and like everything is described, and it's like everyone can literally read that whatever is being sent out as the information of he killed himself is simply not true, because in the documents themselves there's so many mistakes. Like, it's typical stuff like, he's left with not in a solo in a solo cell, but with someone else, and then he got killed with, I don't know, like a fucking string, or like
the cameras
turned
went
off.
Out.
What the fuck?
They malfunctioned. The cameras malfunctioned.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Oh really? On that evening, that's when the cameras malfunctioned, on that day, specifically on that cell.
That's when the guard fell asleep? Oh, okay. That was awfully polite of Epstein to kill himself. While the guard was asleep.
Yeah, it's the real conspiracy is if you think that Epstein killed himself. Did kill himself. That's the real conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it's a weird time we're living in. You don't even need to convince people you're right to get away with a thing.
I mean, one friend of mine used to say, you don't need to be a cook to know that a soup tastes like shit. And that's
true.
That's basically, you don't need to be an expert to know that something is fucking stinking. You know, you don't need to be like a forensics expert to know, like, yeah, there's definitely something wrong here. Yeah. So
the day Ghislaine, I don't know if her name's Ghislaine or Ghislaine. The day Ghislaine Maxwell got arrested, Ghislaine Maxwell did not kill herself was trending.
Oh.
And I just feel like everyone's just waiting for the announcement that she, quote, kills herself.
Yeah. Oh, she apparently killed. Oh my god, the guards again. And the cameras again.
Oh no! Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I know I said I wouldn't fall asleep again, but I was so tired.
Yeah, it was definitely not the thousands of dollars I got from to risk to live rent free for the rest of my life. You know.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, and there's stuff that comes out if we're talking about like UK stuff. There was this one UK like children's presenter. He even had a statue and so on. And
I heard about him.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name, but years after the whole thing, they found out he was constantly grooming children. And then, you know, if you think things like that happened back then, imagine like the same people that were like managers back then, they're still managers now. They know this stuff. They probably know all the names.
Yep, that's nuts, dude. And then, I mean, the UK has Prince Charles, who is absolutely... I'm not saying America doesn't have its pedophiles. We're probably the pedophile king of the world.
Yeah.
But Prince Charles is clearly the worst at lying about it.
Oof, yeah.
That interview with him.
It was so... I watched it and I'm like, dude, like, can you like go deeper? Can you go dig your own grave deeper, please?
Oh my god, I know. It's crazy.
But the problem is like, yeah, nothing's gonna happen. Like, the more money you have, the more just your world is. Like, that's how it means under capitalism. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Money equals freedom.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of Game of Thrones when Littlefinger said, "There's no justice in this world unless you make it Sansa."
I never watched Game of Thrones. I refused.
Oh, it was an excellent show for many years until it wasn't.
Yeah, and I watched like the reactions from people that watched, and like, yeah, it wasn't great. The ending was okay. It was fine.
I am I was one of the biggest Game of Thrones fans on the planet until it really threw up all over that ending. I think it was a horrible ending. I don't think it was.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I heard both.
it's just my opinion. If you're out there and you're listening and you like Game of Thrones and you like its ending, I respect you. No worries.
Yeah,
I personally thought it was awful.
From what I've heard, it was like, they kind of forgot like certain what happened in the show, and they forgot to develop the characters. And suddenly in the last season, suddenly stuff started to move way faster. Like things that took like a whole season, like from one place to the other, suddenly moved in an episode. And it's like, yeah.
Yep, I was joking about them teleporting.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
They teleport now.
And if a show just changes like so fundamentally suddenly, then people are gonna look at it like, even if it's good, they're like, that doesn't make sense in this world.
Yeah, the ending was actually, I'll say, fine for your average popcorn fantasy world, but Game of Thrones was never average popcorn. It was. I mean, it was genuinely one of the best shows ever made.
Let me put it like this: I watched the first episode, and even though it did impress me, I didn't want to watch it further because one of the things that happens, like immediately someone gets killed off, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is gonna be a horrible world with horrible people, and everyone is guilty. Like the little child, the child.
Oh, he's not killed. He's in a coma.
Oh, okay, but at least someone like they threw him off like a.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's a horrible world. You're totally right.
I knew immediately, like, okay, these are horrible people, and they're all guilty of something, and I will probably love this show, but I have enough. I have enough drama in my life. I don't need this.
That's why I'm not playing Last of Us. Exact same reason. People, I totally believe Last of Us is a brilliant game, but I played a bit of it, and I was just like, oh, I don't need to play this.
I don't need to make myself sad.
This is, like, I respect it. I respect everyone who likes it. I appreciate what they've done for the video game medium as far as like storytelling goes, but also it's just not what I need right now. I just don't need that.
And I think my predictions were actually right, where I said it will still sell, and it's still sold, and the developers will get robbed of their bonuses because it didn't reach a certain Metacritic score. And it happened! Yay! I hate
Really? They lost their bonuses?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Oh, man. Over the Metacritic score? Not over the sale?
Yeah,
what?
But most of the contracts are bound to like Metacritic score, which is fucking bonkers. Stupid.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. That's the first I've heard.
Well,
it's stupid from like a capitalist perspective because
it's
as long as it makes money, you should get.
It's stupid in general. Like,
but isn't it kind of? You don't think it's kind of cool that they need to make a good game?
No, like no, like maybe it's the developer in me speaking. Like, I get like a task right from my manager, and I should, and I am supposed to do it after his specifications. It's his choice, not mine. And I say, okay, I want to change this, and this, and then I do change, and it's better when I say, no, I don't want this like this. I want it like this. So the higher ups are deciding. So they decide when to give you the bonus.
I thought you were talking.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the higher ups. I thought they were the ones who's. So I thought that would be cool if
they get bonuses. They get bonuses on whatever. They get bonuses just because they exist.
Right.
Higher ups just get bonuses because they exist, but the developers get robbed of their bonuses.
I didn't realize exactly who was the one.
No, like
with stakes in the game
here. Yeah, fuck high ups. High ups is always fucking sleazy slime balls.
Yeah, I guess that's true. They're the ones who decide who gets the bonus.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to relate it to Justice League and how that was a rushed production because the heads of the studio wanted it to come out in that year. I think 2017. They wanted it, or 2018. They wanted it to come out in a
Yeah.
specific year, so they rushed it out so that they could get their bonuses.
We can talk about like a little bit more about bonuses in general, about because I have a few things about that to say. But
Sure.
I have been thinking about a lot lately about like democratic organizations, or worker co-ops. I've been thinking a lot about that because I think first of all it could work, and second of all it seems that it's the direction we should go if we want like a fairer world. And for those who don't know what worker co-ops are or democratic organization structures, it's basically you can also vote, for example, your boss out of his office. If it's doing like a really bad job, then the people under him can vote him out. Basically, that's one of the things. It's supposed to be like our democracy is now, like representative democracy, but in economy. You know, if the boss is really doing a bad job and not representing the workers in front of the higher ups, then you should get out. But that's not how it is right now. Right now, the higher ups make other higher ups who then make workers. So that's what I'm thinking about. Like, just an idea. I don't know what you think about it.
That's why I really fully support the concept of like employee-owned companies.
Yeah, that's work co-ops.
Because we've got some in America, but it's pretty rare still. I know Intel pays their. I only know this because I have friends that work at Intel. They pay their employees with stocks every year, and that's good. And it buys them a voting right. Once you're a shareholder, you can vote. But there's still a ton of problems if that were to be executed with most major corporations in America, because most major corporations in America are owned by mutual funds and all these other things that don't have the same concerns as employees at all. And it's already way over 50%, and employees will never get a majority share.
It would be like a very slow process, but I believe like it could. First of all, it can work because it has been working for quite a few time now, for some time now, and it seems that worker co-ops survive like when they are fresh from a startup. They survive like the first 5 years after founding way better than like a corporation that is owned by other big corporation. It seems like it's way more stable environment because then everyone has a share, everyone has something to say, everyone like it's not like the typical employee boss relationship.
You're going to get higher productivity from your employees. Yep. You're going to get all the benefits of fucking Marxism. Yep. Because the employees actually do see the works of their labor, but it can exist. It can actually exist under capitalism.
Yep, it exists under the market system, but the unfairness is a little bit taken out because right now we basically have workers producing work, and then the job of the capitalist, of the boss, is to steal as much as work from that worker as possible.
That's true.
Because if you think about it, like something like I worked at McDonald's, I worked at like the post office. Like I know what those jobs like. I worked a little bit higher, but like okay, I know how much money they make. It does not like it doesn't make sense that like the bottom employee earns only that much. It's I've seen both sides, and it's not. It's definitely whoever is defending that practice is either ignorant or ignorant.
Or ignorant. No, either ignorant or malicious.
Or malicious, yeah. I don't. Yeah, okay, maybe.
Well, I mean, obviously the higher ups who benefit from the system are going to defend it for sure.
Of course.
And then there are a ton of lower wage workers that defend the system. And that's the ignorance.
Yeah. It's because there's this. I've seen before we start the podcast. I've seen this tweet, and it was basically let me pull it up here because I find it so fascinating. It's so fascinating. So this girl, I think she made a TikTok or whatever Instagram story, and she's like, "Oh, how I own 20 houses free and clear." Yeah, go full-time job. Got a full-time job. Got a full-time corporate day job. Started my own business. Okay, that's a big statement here. And worked at night and weekends. So, and then bought a 4-class stone house for cheap and fixed it up. Moved but kept the townhouse to rent out. Lived frugally and used all the cash to invest in more real estate. And I'm like, you do know that what you're presenting is a fucking pyramid scheme, right? Because not everyone can have 20 houses.
Right, and she's skipping something. Skipping something. How did you get your first house?
Yeah.
How were you able to afford jumping out of it? You said you got your normal ass corporate job.
Yeah.
Was it 6 figures? Is that why?
Yeah.
Or
how many hours did you work? 40, 50, 60, 80?
Did somebody help you buy the first house?
Exactly.
Maybe. Or if not that, if you just had a 6-figure job coming up, did somebody help you pay for college?
Exactly.
Maybe.
And then the whole step 2, started my own business. And I'm like,
where'd you get the money for that? Did somebody help you out? Maybe.
And like, you are aware that like you're missing like huge parts of your fucking story.
Yeah. You present it as like a 5-step plan, and you're stupid if you can't do it. And that's like the myth of capitalism is you're just too lazy.
That's
like, just work harder and you will be rich. Yep. And so many people buy into it so far that they're like, it's just like weight loss. I'm going to start my weight loss tomorrow. I'm definitely going to lose weight soon. But they have that mental process of, don't worry, I'll get on the ball probably this next year, and then I'm going to be rich.
Yeah.
They don't realize that you get on the fucking ball, guy. It ain't going to help that much.
Yeah.
Unless somebody can angel invest in your business $100,000 or something.
And then your business has to be successful. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But the food...
There's a lot of missing steps there.
The food example is a good one because the losing weight example is a good one. Because we think, like you can lose weight if you do sports. But the truth is you eat less, if you lose weight, you eat more, you gain weight. But that's not the complete truth. You eat the correct things, you lose weight. You eat the incorrect things, you gain weight. And guess what is cheap and is produced with a lot of conservation stuff and a lot of stuff that is made to just taste good? The bad stuff.
The bad stuff. Absolutely.
Because it's cheap. So, you know?
I mean, that's stacked against the poor as well.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
But at least, like, there's a nugget of truth when you tell yourself, if I get on the ball, I can lose weight. There's truth in that.
Sports in its, of course, I know this is like a widespread thing that sports make you like helps you with losing weight, but it's simply not true. The only thing sports does, because I had to study this at the school, the only thing sports does is make you fit. Like you have better, like you can breathe more, like bigger lung capacity. You can walk more. You have more power, but that's it. It doesn't make you think.
Oh, maybe you're taking it literally when I say get on the ball. I mean, like, I don't mean play sports. I mean, focus on your diet.
Okay,
find the right things to eat, like you said.
Oh yeah, and then
I'm just saying that losing weight is achievable to the lower class. Whereas, if you look at the statistics about breaking out of your class and joining a higher class of society, that's
it's a fable. It's a fable. We tell ourselves.
It's a fable. Exactly.
It's a thing like, oh yeah, we totally got rid of the monarchy. You know, like, it doesn't exist anymore. Like, sure. Yeah, except, like, do you still get names, that sound awfully like those old monarchs, and they are rich. I wonder where that fucking riches come from.
They're rich, and they control the votes that ultimately decide your life, and they control the companies.
I wonder where it comes from.
Yeah, and I mean, the American dream here in America, it sounds like your culture is not far from mine. No, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, it's not far.
But here in America, there is still, I would say, possibly even a majority of people that believe that we all start off with an equal opportunity. That genuinely believe that Nicolas Cage is famous on talent alone, and not the fact that his uncle is Francis Ford Coppola. Which isn't to say I don't adore Nicolas Cage. He's the true national treasure, but he wouldn't be famous without Francis Ford.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it just paints... all I'm trying to say about Cage is his talent was only exposed because his uncle directed The Godfather.
Yep.
And if he were born in a poor family, we would never have heard of him.
Yeah. I mean, we're circling back to the beginning. Like, Hollywood is, like, definitely nepotism. Like, of course.
Oh yeah. That's the least problematic problem that they're dealing with.
Yeah, that's the least problematic problem. But that's like, yeah,
it's still a problem, 100%.
Yeah, of course it's a problem. But like, it's of course like the dream of this actor. Like, I want to become an actor at some point. I work at IT. Oops. got wrong.
I'm sorry. You want to be an actor?
I wanted to become an actor.
But not anymore?
Not after I've seen so many dipshits. But yeah, I wouldn't get a role anyway because all my languages are fucked, and I would like to have a ton of speak training before I even get a role. Plus black, plus the typical stuff. It's still difficult for like black actors.
Oh, it's difficult. It's difficult for a handsome 6'2", well-built, well-speaking white man in Hollywood if he doesn't have family.
Yeah. So you can imagine.
You're 100% right about nepotism, you know?
So you can imagine. I said, no, I'm fine. Now I work at IT. That's also great. I like it. I'm
That's
happy.
cool.
Let's say I'm happy with my job. I got lucky. But I forgot what I wanted to say. Fuck. Actor.
We're talking about problems in Hollywood. You want to be an actor?
Yeah. No, I completely forgot what I wanted to say. Fuck.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. But
I hope to go off.
Oh, okay. I still have 2 big projects I'm working on for YouTube, and then I actually wanted to work on one project of where the stars come from. Because if you take a look at like what movies have been done like in the past few years by the big corporations like Disney, Warner Bros. And so on, and you look at the actors and actresses, they're like, oh, they are daughters of someone, and sons and cousins and nephews, and like there's no real like new blood. There's no like someone that's completely out of the blue. They're all kind of related to each other for some reason.
There's 1 or 2 pipelines that actually bring new talent in.
Yeah.
But it's still like, if it were a true meritocracy and it were just the people that deserved it at the top, then there's a lot of family going on.
Oh yeah, there are some actors and actresses that like they don't belong there. Like, what the fuck are they doing there? There are probably some, especially when it comes to child actors and actresses, they are probably daughters and sons of some executive. That's why they're so bad. That's why they're like bad child actresses, because there are no actresses. There are good child actresses there. They're perfectly made for this job because they have inherent talent. You know, they're good people. they're good children that can act. And then the rest is just like, it's a child. It looks like a child. Let them in front of a camera. Doesn't make a difference, right? Nobody's gonna notice. I'm talking about this because I recently watched Star Wars episode 1 to 6 again.
Oh my goodness. He wasn't anybody. I assume you're talking about Jake Lloyd, who played Anakin.
Jake Lloyd was half good. The rest of the children there were fucking bad, like proper, awful.
That's its own insane story. I watched the documentary on the making of Phantom Menace.
Okay,
and it's pretty crazy. You see 3 audition tapes for 3 different child actors for Anakin, and 2 of them are genuinely good. And you see everyone in the casting studio, like, talking to themselves, like, "Oh, these kids are good. I think they have a lot of potential." And then you see Jake Lloyd, and he's just like curled up in his mom's arm. He's scared. He can't remember the lines. He's being fed the lines the whole time. And then it cuts to everyone talking about the other 2 boys. And George Lucas just says, "I don't know. There's just something about Jake, though." So my fan theory is that Jake Lloyd must like look or act like George Lucas as a kid.
Oh
and it
my
reminded
god!
him of himself.
That makes so much sense.
That's my fan theory, is that George just like connected to this kid because it looked like him.
That makes sense. Like,
I mean,
I watched those movies so many times.
I could look it.
I watched those movies so many times. That's why I'm like, I always thought like the child is like, oh my god, isn't that like George Lucas? And when you mention it, you're like, I'm not crazy, okay? Okay.
Yep.
But this is my bias
theory.
speaking right now. But what you mentioned, the documentary, I never saw that, but I saw a lot of extras on DVD and like audio commentary. At some point, you can just you can watch a movie and then you have to start to watch movies new. But the thing was, the casting agencies, instead of saying to George, "Shut the fuck up, George, you are crazy. We take a professional, a child that has potential," they said just, "Yes, Master Luke. Yes, just take Jake Lloyd, who has clearly no fucking talent."
That was the big problem with the prequels. I actually think they're okay, or I like the third one at least.
Nobody said to George, "Shut the fuck up."
Nobody said anything. Whereas you get all these stories, you get all the stories from the original trilogy of people literally saying, "Shut up, George.
You suck. I love you, world, but you suck."
Yeah. Nobody just had the balls to tell him off.
Yeah, which was wrong. Like I always try to when someone asks to work in a group, I'm like, you don't need lap dogs. You don't need PS people around you. You need like guard dogs. You need dogs that will constantly fucking bark at you, because then it's a good environment, because they're constantly giving you feedback to what you're doing. But yeah, like to Jake Lloyd, some of the lines are really well done. I'm like, why is this good? Why is this good? And then some of the lines are like, did someone forget to instruct him how to deliver the line?
Yeah, I never put it on Jake Lloyd.
No,
he was a child actor.
I always thought, like, did someone just watch this and not said, "Hey, maybe we should make another take," and then instruct the child to like do another line? Like, I'm like, did nobody watch? Like, someone had to watch this and said, "Oh, this is good." Instead of,
I mean, and it was also an awful script.
Oh,
like, you got Liam Neeson, who's an excellent actor, and he's still a bit wooden.
But he still delivers his line. Like, that's what the original. I have the same problems with the original. The classically, this classically trained actor, Alec Guinness, against everyone else, is like they fade away in the background. I'm like, wow, I'm looking at the fucking god, and everyone fades in the background. Like, oh, they're shit. In compared to Alec.
People give Jake Lloyd, people give him a lot of shit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
like
Mark Hamill is shit compared to Alec. In the third movie,
you get
he's
Mark
great.
Hamill and Alec. Oh, yeah. Oh, Hamill definitely improves as he goes along. Absolutely. And I don't even dislike him in the first one because his bad acting plays as like an annoying child, which works fine for Luke. He is
compared
like
to
a
Alec,
kid.
it's not even acting. It's like, is this even acting? What the fuck I'm watching? And the other one is a classically trained actor. Like, oh my god, this is so wonderful. I want to see this every day.
Although I will say, there was a point in my life. I remember the exact moment when I realized that Ian McGregor was absolute bliss as Obi-Wan, and that is when I went back. It was the first time I watched the Blu-ray release of A New Hope. I just got the Blu-ray release of A New Hope, and it had been years since I'd seen A New Hope, so it was my first time going back in a while. And when we get the trench run, and Obi-Wan's voice comes in, and he's speaking to Luke from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
And he says, "Use the Force, Luke." I 100% thought Lucas went back and overdubbed it with the voice of Ian McGregor. Just like he went in and put Hayden Christensen in Return of the Jedi as the ghost.
We can talk about that.
I thought that he did it again with Ian McGregor's voice, but he didn't. They just sound exactly the same.
Yep. I don't know who said that Ian McGregor doesn't sound like
nobody. Like we all love him
because
love Ian McGregor.
Because you can literally see the third movie. You're like, oh yeah, this is going to become like Ben Kenobi in the future. This is going to be the fucking hermit.
As bad as some of the acting is, Ian McGregor was just fucking great, man.
I think one of my one of the things if I could ever change the prequels, it would be not only the actors themselves, the dialogue of course, but the age and the way how they age, because apparently Padme Amidala and Anakin are supposed to be 10 and 14, I think, or 12 and 14. So
in the first one,
so literally children.
Right.
Padme looks like a 25-year-old, and not a 14-year-old. She sounds like even like a 25-year-old because she's a fucking queen.
Yeah.
She's an elected queen, and like this doesn't make sense. Make her a princess and then make her a fucking maid. That makes sense. And then make her in the second movie, make her an actual queen that was elected and then has like actual power about the whole thing. And then in the first,
do the whole trilogy, obviously.
In the
but
first,
other than that,
in the first, second, and third movie, there should be 3 different actresses and 3 different actors instead of 2, because
I'll give you my opinion on that. I think same actor the whole time. The first one, I think we should just start with Anakin as a Jedi Knight.
That would make
just start with Hayden. Just start with Hayden Christensen.
That would make sense.
Since we don't need to see him as a kid, maybe in flashback,
Yeah.
But we don't need a whole movie of him as a kid because he's not interesting. Like we don't need that part of Vader's story.
Yeah, you can even have like the racing segment as a Jedi Knight.
Sure, absolutely. But the only reason was he wanted, and it makes sense, and you know what? God damn it, it worked. But the only reason was so that Star Wars would be for kids again. So that kids would have a character to relate to. And I was the exact age he was aiming for. So I can report that it worked. I got into Star Wars. I dressed up as little Annie for Halloween one year. So he pulled it off, but it was a worse movie. We don't learn anything about him from that we couldn't get from a 10-minute flashback. All you need to know is The only important
He's a
parts are
slave.
like
He has a mother.
he was a slave and his mother gave a virgin birth.
Yeah.
What else do we get from him that is vital to the story?
He's a good pilot, but
That's true. That's true. 100%. But you could allude to that.
Yeah.
You could have one line of dialogue that says, I mean, if you still want to have the racing sequence with Hayden Christensen, fine. He goes back to Tatooine. He needs to get in a race for some reason. Maybe he's freeing a slave. Who cares? Yeah. And then he just says, I remember my first pod race. I was freaking 8 years old, man. I was so good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even need that. Just make him a good pilot, and you've done it.
But I think it makes more sense like both adults, because how it is right now, I feel very disconnected in the first movie, and the second movie I'm like, okay, but I still because I still think in the second movie there should be teenagers, right? They should be like 18 and 22, something like that, or 18 and 20. Right. Clearly Anakin is supposed to be younger as Padme, so like 18 and 20 or whatever, 16 and 18, whatever. And because then it seems like I hate why people. I don't hate, but like I don't like how the specifically the sand scene is seen as a bad scene. I'm like, those are two inept children, basically inept teenagers that were brought in systems up. They're extremely regressive. Like they regress like personal bounds, and they are super awkward. And that's like makes total sense that two inept teenagers or young adults would talk like this.
I agree, but you also got to think about the framing. The way that it's shown to us isn't awkward teenagers.
It's two adults.
You can tell that the filmmakers think that this is high romance.
Yeah, and
you can tell that with the music swelling the way it does. That's a brilliant score. John Williams doing a romantic score. It's unlike anything else. So it doesn't play.
It's wrong.
It doesn't play like bumbling idiots, you know?
Which they are.
Maybe if you even just replace the score, just take the score out and make them, just let the awkwardness play. Maybe no one would think it's a bad scene because we would get, oh, they are awkward.
They're bumbling idiots.
Yeah, I mean,
they have only to basically the one is was brought up in a repressed religion where basically love and personal connection is forbidden, and the other one is is like a professional politician since birth, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm of the opinion that the funnest way to enjoy Star Wars for me is reading it like the Jedi are just as much to blame as Palpatine.
Oh, yeah.
Like 100%. They're space cops, and every bad thing you say about cops in America nowadays just is the Jedi. They are doing that too. They have a library of unlimited knowledge. Space magician cops, even more. Let's give cops more power than they have already. Yeah. You talk about Americans need the right to guns because cops have the right to guns. Well, in that world, the only ones with lightsabers are the cops. The only ones with the Force are the cops.
Yeah.
If you
and
have
they steal
the Force,
children with the Force.
Yeah. They're in episodes 7, 8, and 9, one of the only actually evil things we see the First Order do is, we don't see them do it, but we're told they take children. The Jedi did that.
Yep.
We're told that Anakin's too old when he comes in at age 10.
Yep. The Jedi as evil as everyone else in that universe.
So if you just look at it like a few well-meaning characters inside a corrupt police force, like Obi-Wan's a good guy. He means well. But if you look at the Jedi as a corrupt police force, it's more interesting to me.
But I always saw that because the movie itself gives hints, especially the third one, where basically they said, you are on the council, like you belong to us now, but we don't grant you the rank you grant everyone, and as an unofficial mission, we give you the mission to spy on the reader of the free galaxies.
They're like, oh shit, you're friends with him? Oh shit, okay. Well, spy on him. And he openly voices that he doesn't approve of that. Yeah. He says, like, this makes me uncomfortable. And Obi-Wan says something. Obi-Wan says, you must sense something's amiss, right? I don't remember the exact line, but he's like, the only thing that's amiss is you're asking me to spy on my friend. He says that.
And that's the well-meaning cop, right? Obi-Wan turns around and says, I don't want this. I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like the well-meaning cop, right? Like, but he's still in the fucking corrupt system.
Yeah, you're totally right. And then, but that's the thing, is it's hard to read Star Wars the way, at least the prequel trilogy, it's hard to actually read it the way it was intended, because you're right, it's there that the Jedi are a problem, but most people don't read it that way.
The first, like, the hubris that the first movie of the hubris of a Jedi is in the first scene where we see them talking about when Qui-Gon Jinn comes around and says, the well-meaning cop again, says, the Sith are back. And I'm like, the Sith aren't back. We would know. We're the Jedi.
Oh, yeah. The hubris is all there. You're totally right. But that's why it's so good. If you actually acknowledge all this, it becomes, like, good again.
Yeah.
Like with Obi-Wan is a failure of a man and a failure of a Jedi.
Yep.
His ultimate test, he personally corrupted Darth Vader.
Yep.
He personally engaged in corrupting Darth Vader. And then he had one job, which was to finish him. He failed and corrupted and let Darth Vader get corrupted. So he was sent to go finish the job to make amends for his failure. And he watches his friend burning alive. Yep. His job is to kill him. And he walks away. Because he's a failure.
Oh, there's more things wrong with Obi-Wan. For example, that he lets Padme basically die by letting Anakin crush her throat.
That's true.
or for example, snacking on her ship, well knowing that if Anakin catches him when she's within, she will probably snap. After seeing the tape of him killing younglings. So Obi-Wan is like the ignorant, well-meaning cop, basically.
Oh, he's not ignorant at that point. I don't think he's ignorant at all. I think he's weak. I think he's not. Weak. He doesn't have the balls to do what he has to do, which is kill his friend.
Yeah, and I think both of them don't want to kill each other. They don't. At least, like,
That's
see
true.
in the fight, you see, like, where Anakin, like, stops and doesn't, like, want to, but he keeps going, basically. And then at some point they almost kill each other.
And then in episode 8, Luke Skywalker is like, "Hey, I've been thinking a lot about the Jedi. It turns out they were a corrupt organization that didn't even accomplish what they wanted to. So fuck the police, right?"
Fuck the police, straight from the underground, yeah. But
as long as we're talking Star Wars, can I promote my latest video? Well, yes, it's not my latest yet, but I will
link everything in the description. I wanted to do that anyway. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Well, my next one, I'm still working on. I'm remaking Star Wars so that Disney doesn't remake it. I did Star Wars, but I'm everybody, and now I'm working on The Empire Strikes Back, but I'm everybody, and it's exactly what it sounds like. I play all the characters in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's awesome. The dog is clearly, or the Wookiee is clearly the best character. Don't at me.
That's true. And I'm not actually. I don't know what to call this next one, because I'm not going to play everyone anymore.
Oh.
I'm bringing in James Miller as Yoda.
Oh, another boy. We had him on the podcast.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's sick. I got to listen to that one.
Early on. Star Wars. Yes, watch Star Wars, but everybody. I will link that in the description. And watch Greedo Strikes Frank. I will link in the description. Very funny. The thing I said about old YouTube and the use of green screen. Great here. Perfect examples. And then afterwards, watch the Reverend of Florida, Felicia.
Yes.
That is that's a parody on 3 different levels, basically.
Well, what I thought was so funny about the original, I swear to God, I watched the original at least 12 times
I had to
before
laugh.
even thinking.
I had to laugh.
Before even thinking about making a video. I loved it so much because that woman is so insane. And when I made my video, I genuinely tried to repeat what she said word for word. I messed up on a few spots.
It's almost the same tone as well.
Yeah, because I think if you gave her enough time on the stand, she clearly had a limited amount of time. They stopped her at the end. But if you gave her enough time, I think she would have delivered it exactly like a Southern preacher. She sees herself as spreading the gospel of God.
Can we? Yeah. I want to talk about the Jedi more because it fits in perfectly with what we're talking about right now. The Jedi believe they are the good guys. They generally believe that if they take away the younglings and train them, that they can get rid of darkness, basically. They can get rid of the dark side. Not realizing that by getting rid of the dark side, they're just making it fucking bigger. Like, the brighter it shines, the bigger the shadow, basically.
And you remember some of the Jedi... Okay, so they kidnap a kid. They don't kidnap a kid. They sort of kidnap a kid.
It's like the police coming to your house and saying, look, we're basically the keepers of peace, and if you don't give us your child, he's going to be in danger. That's what
it's like do. If everyone who knows how to use a gun gets recruited to a police as a kid.
Yeah.
Because that's the Force.
Yeah.
They find everyone who can use the Force and take him as a kid. Then one of them goes evil. And you know what they blame it on? They took him too old. No, they took him too old.
They took him too old.
I knew he was too old to train. They're fucking...
And all the way, they don't make any moves to save his mother. They constantly keep talking about, you have to suppress your feelings, even though you're human.
He says I'm worried about my mother. She's still a slave on Tatooine.
Learning to let go, you have young.
Yeah. And then it's like, you need to let go of that. You need to not worry.
Your mother that basically brought you up, that you know very dearly, and you lived for a few years, and you still have memories of. Yeah, forget about that bitch.
Dude, people die. You need to accept that.
And your girlfriend, that you hold dear and have a child. No. Why care, right?
Well, to be clear to the audience, to anyone listening, I adore Star Wars, and I think it's fantastic.
That's why
I think the only problems with the prequels that make them so worthy of making fun of is that they don't frame things in the way Lucas doesn't know how to present it to get his point across.
Like the whole
I think what we're saying is true. I think Lucas intended it to be that the Jedi were a problem, but it doesn't come across that way on your first viewing or to many viewers at all because he doesn't set it up the right way.
And in the end, it's still like it's because it's setting up for the originals. It ends like, so the Jedi are good. So the Jedi
because he can't. Because he can't quite frame it in exactly the right way. Like the fact that Anakin Skywalker flirts in a creepy way is made fun of all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's presented as romantic, good flirting. But I don't think that's what Lucas intended. I think he knew it was creepy.
Yeah.
Because it's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Who cares? It makes sense that he'd be bad at flirting.
I mean, it makes sense from a Jedi perspective because they are not taught those things. They are basically inept children, all of them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Yoda or Master Windu. They have no clue how to behave around other people, especially the other gender, basically. They're all inept children, basically.
Absolutely. So if you just give the films the benefit of the doubt, and like every time you're making fun of it, thinking that you know more than it, pretend for 1 second like that was actually the intention.
Yeah.
And it creates a different framing for it, and it starts to look like good movies.
Like specifically the one sand scene that I mentioned, that you said, oh, it's framed wrongly, like the swelling music, and it's like, oh, it's supposed to be romance. And I'm looking at him like, oh, those are two bumbling idiots. Like they never learned how to talk to other people other than in a professional setting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's the way they're written.
Yeah.
But it's not the way the camera treats them, and it's not the way the editing treats them.
And then you have dialogue, I think George Lucas wanted to make like a theater piece, and this big theater piece, and then you have the dialogue where they like kiss, and so the night dialogue, and like, oh, this looks out of place. Like, why are they using that language? Like, shouldn't they be like stumbling around with their words and not finding what is going on here? Why they are so like perfect lovers right now?
Yeah, they're weird movies for sure. I'm not trying to say they're perfect, because they clearly Lucas clearly did some stuff pretty badly wrong,
and too many yes men around him, basically.
Too many yes men. Yep. Like if you look back at the original trilogy, with the scene between Han and Leia where he says, I know. I'm sure you've heard this story. A lot of people have heard this story. The original line of dialogue was ridiculous. It was, you've heard the screenwriting rule, show, don't tell. Well, the original line in the script is very much tell, don't show. It was this
theatrical shit that George Lucas does.
Yeah. She was supposed to say, I love you. And Han was supposed to say, like, I felt this connection between us for a while, and neither of us have acknowledged it. I'm glad that you now bring it up. It was like weird and long.
Yeah.
And both the director, who was Lawrence Kasdan, I think, and both the director and Harrison Ford didn't like it. They said it was clunky and long. So that's how we get I love you, I know.
Yeah.
And I know was essentially the same meaning. Han's whole little spiel was something like, I'm a badass and I don't like acknowledging my feelings.
Yeah.
But Harrison Ford said, no, George, that's stupid, and put in I know instead, and it was much better.
And it sounds like a old archetype gunslinger guy. Like, of course, someone as abrasive as Han Solo would say something like that.
Of course.
Like,
it's funny that you bring up Gunslinger, because the other character in that scene, Boba Fett, did you know? I'm sorry, I know so much about Star Wars. We shouldn't have talked about Star Wars.
No, go on. I love this. Because I clearly watched a lot, and I watched a lot of documentaries, but I haven't watched everything.
Yeah, you do know a lot yourself. Did you know that Boba Fett was George Lucas he decided that he was going to put the man with no name into his film. The man with no name is an old archetype of a cowboy that travels town to town.
Right, it's actually older the problem and moves on.
Mm-hmm. It's actually older than Clint Eastwood's character.
Yeah,
but most people will remember it as Clint Eastwood's character in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that. I didn't know he wanted someone that is basically solves problems. That's the guy. You call him up, he solves the problem, he moves on.
Yep. Well, it was the man with no name. Specifically, the Clint Eastwood iterations, who are actually bounty hunters in the I forget the director's name, but in that trilogy of films, Sergio Leone, in the Sergio Leone trilogy, where he plays a bounty hunter with no name, even though he has names in those movies. It's weird. It's complicated.
It's about the whole you come in town, you offer your service, and they move on. It's like it's supposed to like mimic this romanticized version of the old Wild West.
Exactly. And so we're getting the gunslinger more or less in Boba Fett. And then you were right to compare Han Solo to him, because he definitely feels that way as well, even down to the vest.
Yeah, like his whole outfit is like, if you look at like concept art, even back then he's supposed to have like different like even like hats. They played with hats around. Like you could see them.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, in the special features you can see that like they played around with hats and but apparently like neither the people that were designing the costumes nor the actors themselves like that idea. Like, why do people wear hats in space?
Yeah.
But the whole weapon, you know, it reminds you of a revolver. It's clunky. It's like it's short and clunky and so on. And the whole how it's built and the whole boots. The boots and trousers combination that's supposed to remind of this cowboy thing. So yeah,
the cantina. We meet him in a cantina.
You meet in a cantina, so saloon, basically a space saloon. So yeah, all of this, like, it's supposed to be like he's supposed to be the Western hero, cowboy, whatever. I have no idea where the fuck they come up with the dog. Like,
oh, that's true. No, some cowboys had dogs, didn't they? Did they? I don't know.
I don't know, but that's basically. I think that was the idea, like dog, and then this evolved into Wookiee.
Yeah, that's true. Or if not a dog, many cowboy stories present the relationship with the horse the same way.
Yeah, horse.
But they weren't about to have
some animal.
They weren't about to.
Yeah.
They give cowboys animal relationships a lot. Right.
A falcon, I don't know, a bear, whatever.
Oh my God, Millennium Falcon too. Falcon.
Oh my God, yes, the name.
Take a piece of a lot of cowboy stories.
Of course, yeah.
Wow.
Falcon. Yes, so a lot of it is like completely. This is Western, and then you have the Jedi on the other side, which is like samurai. Like, it's supposed to be samurai.
Yeah.
Even the fucking mask of Darth Vader is supposed to be. Oh, this is like old headgear.
Yeah, like a Ronin helmet.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the headgear. It's supposed to look like it. Like the cape and all this stuff and how they stance. I study a little bit of like, at least I'm interested in kendo, which is like Japanese, historical sword fighting. And they like how their stances. They're like, oh yeah, that's how they stand in like when they start fighting. Like this.
Well, that's a lot of like, you watch the only lightsaber duel in A New Hope.
Yeah,
it's clearly they thought of it more as an old samurai sword. Mm-hmm. It's clunkier, it's heavy, and the movements are very direct.
Yeah.
Whereas then in the original trilogy, they start to loosen up. The lightsabers get lighter, and by the time he started making the prequels, it's not a samurai sword anymore. It's it's a lightsaber. It's a laser cutter. It's getting flung around. Yeah. And it becomes totally different. But you're right. The influence is super. Yeah. It's super there. It's funny that you compare the samurai movies to Star Wars and the Westerns to Star Wars. And we know also that Westerns are influenced by samurai movies. That's true.
Yeah. But
it's a triangle.
Nothing is like, it's the same, the whole Matrix argument, right? Like, Matrix is like, amalgamation of so many things. Like, everything is an amalgamation of everything. Like, there's no writer, no director, no actor that is completely unique. This doesn't exist, this idea of uniqueness and being the only one to have this ability to act or write or whatever. If you ever have
grow in a vacuum.
If you ever have been to like a writer's house, you would his house will basically be books. Just if you ever seen a writer, like how much they read, they probably read like thousands of books before they start writing.
Yeah, absolutely. Art doesn't grow in a vacuum. Yeah. I think it's fun to discuss the influences.
Yeah,
like, I'm having a good time talking about the samurai movies and the Westerns that influence Star Wars. And it's fun and cool, but you shouldn't say it in an accusatory way. You shouldn't pretend that like it's a bad thing.
I love it when I can see the background where it comes from. when it's done poorly,
so
it's
the
like,
Matrix
it's supposed to be a samurai, but now they are basically, I don't know what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a useful tool for understanding why some films work and some films don't work.
Yeah. We can talk a little bit about the new ones. Look, because I don't know if you saw what I did with like fuck Disney thing, but basically, Disney's a horrible company. I think that's clear. Disney bad.
True.
I think we all agree. They do good stuff, sure, but the people are responsible for that, and not Disney as the company itself. And the whole Star Wars, how it's now, I was expecting something like, maybe they move on from samurai and western, they move on to more like Eastern style, like make it Buddhist inspiration, because of the whole, after Luke gets like, enlightened and has like a new ideas, and then maybe monks, because she was using staff, like the Rey was using a staff, maybe the fighting style will develop in those like Chinese martial arts stuff, especially because Disney wants to get the big money from China. Maybe they move on in that direction, but then nothing of that happened. Like, I'm like, so clearly nobody talked about like the world, how they want to explore the bigger world. I was totally expecting like Rey to be like a Chinese, then a Chinese martial arts style thing, and get like a one-bladed long sword, whatever.
You know what I was expecting, and a lot of people were expecting this. We thought that because at the end of The Last Jedi, she and Kylo are fighting over the kyber crystal from the original Skywalker lightsaber. And they fight over it with the Force, and then it cracks in two. Meanwhile, the whole trilogy, or both of the films that Rey's been in, she's been fighting with her staff. First, we see her fight with her staff. Then when she finally gets the lightsaber, she fights underhanded. She holds it underhanded and switches between underhand and overhand, which you can feel as a growth from her staff fighting style. Yeah. Because with a staff, you hit both underhanded and overhanded. Yeah. So it just made sense. The kyber crystal's broke in half. She's going to reform the lightsaber with two halves coming out, like a Darth Maul saber with shorter ends. And everyone thought that would happen. But why would they show us it breaking in half? And then you get to Rise of Skywalker, and she just has the Skywalker saber back. And it's just like fine now. It's not broken in half. What the fuck, you know? But it's just fine. But that's like... They just ignore the plot point.
We can talk shit about George Lucas prequels whatsoever. The guy knows how at least to build a world. Episode 1, 2, and 3 don't feel like 3 movies. They feel like a really long story. They don't feel like, this is clearly 3 different movies. They have nothing to do with each other. They clearly move one into the other. Episode 7, 8, and 9 are 3 different movies with 3 different messages, and they do not play into each other's hands.
Yep. You're exactly
have
right.
Nothing to do with each other. You could watch them individually, and you would say, "Oh, okay, they are fine, I guess." But they are not in one series. They are not. They are not in a. They're simply not in the same world.
They disagree. They hate each other.
Yeah, they hate each other literally.
Yeah.
Especially the last one is like. Oh yeah, basically the two directors fighting. Oh yeah, you did that. This is my character. Yeah, fuck that. I'm gonna move your character completely to the wayside and never show them.
The only time that worked for me, I will say there was one like perfect conclusion, and it's super small, but light speed tracking is introduced in The Last Jedi. Yeah. Now, if you go to light speed, it doesn't mean you've gotten away. They can track you. Mm-hmm. And there's just visual storytelling that explains how the world developed around lightspeed tracking in the first 10 minutes of Rise of Skywalker. Some TIE fighters get on Poe Dameron's butt. I think he's in the Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what ship he's in, but he's the one flying. And we know that Poe is the best living pilot in this timeline, in the sequels.
Yeah.
And so he starts light speed warping like every 10 seconds to confuse these guys. And they keep tracking him, but it ultimately throws him off. And he ultimately like manages to shoot them all down or make them run into things.
It looks great.
And it looks great. And it's just natural. It's like, oh, you took the thing that the previous director introduced and you explained how that changed the world.
Yeah.
The fighter pilots are adapting to the fact that people will track them through lightspeed. And they're managing to still dogfight in a way that no other film's done. No other film has dealt with lightspeed tracking. I mean, the dogfights have always been influenced by World War II films, but World War II films didn't have lightspeed.
Yeah.
So now we're getting a whole new visual type of dogfight. It was awesome. And then everything else, it just shits on.
Well, especially if you think about the whole in the second movie, I don't know what was it, The Last Jedi? No, Last Jedi. So if you think about that, and like, oh, our plan is to get enough energy to then to turn off the light tracking thing in the main ship, and then we can move on with we can jump, you know, and like, but apparently all ships have that, so it doesn't matter if you jump. Like they have a whole fleet that can follow you. What the fuck?
Yeah,
so nobody really thought, like in the second movie, of course, someone thought, oh, maybe we should get a way to figure out how they would fight in this new environment, and then you clearly have a solution. Okay, dogfight is now different. You jump speed many times.
Right.
And in the movie where it was introduced, nobody thought about the consequences. You're like, oh god, boys, think about what you introduce in your movies, please.
And they also introduced space gasoline for the first time.
Space gasoline,
like they're gonna run out of fuel. I don't know why. I just assumed that these things didn't run on. I just assumed they went forever because fuel has never once been mentioned in any of the 7 preceding movies.
Let's run this little experiment, right? Like we say, okay, fuel is a thing. Fuel is an actual thing that you have to care about. Ships can be sent out that are faster from the main ship, and apparently those gigantic.
They just go pick up gasoline. They just go pick it up, dude.
Yep. And apparently those gigantic like Star Destroyers, they also have ships that are faster than all other ships. So they can send a whole fleet of ships just to destroy this mini ship with like a few thousand people in it. And then the resistance would be dead. And like, has anyone thought about like what they're actually doing here? Like, is this like a thing that someone thought? That's why people don't. That's why dogfights in the original trilogy, in the original movies are like, okay, so you have a stationary thing that cannot move, and you have things attacking it. That's most of the fights. Because if you had 2 moving things, then the logistics become difficult. Because, what if the other thing can move faster? What if the other thing does light speed and the other thing doesn't? You know, that's
true, and it would be more difficult to film. Yeah. So they didn't even attempt it until the prequel.
One is stationary, the other one is moving. Like that, even in the prequels, it's like, you have this giant ship that is very slow, and you have all these small things that are very fast. It's always
because if you remember in the third movie, it opens with a pretty big dogfight with a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, like, but still, like, they have these gigantic ships that are very slow, and then you have those fighter pilots where the Jedi and the Radikas are, whatever they're called.
The what?
The I don't know how they're called. The drones, the fighter drones.
Right. Yeah.
So basically, you have the small ships that are like the Jedi and the clone troops are in, and you have the big ships that are moving very slowly where the big companies are and so on. So you always have a very slow moving target and a very fast moving target. In the original, same thing. You have the Death Star or you have the Star Destroyer, and then you have smaller ships that can go in and go out.
True.
And in the Last Jedi, it's like, two slow moving things following each other until the gas runs out. And nobody thought
weird.
And nobody thought that you can send like faster ships you have 1,000 probably in those big Star Destroyers. So nobody thought about that. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, the moment, of course, if you say, it's just a space movie, like it's just space wizards for children, then of course you can always bring that up and say, fine, okay, but like doesn't matter. Like even that's the thing. My 12-year-old brother, he brought this up because clearly I showed in Star Wars. My 12-year-old brother brought this up and said, does this make sense? Why?
I'm actually a pretty big apologist for The Last Jedi.
I like the cinematography.
Yes, the cinematography is brilliant. I think that the whole third act works. I think that the whole last 45 minutes of the movie works. I don't have much bad to say about it. But I do see the problems with everything you're saying. And it's so silly. Like, I'm an apologist, but I don't say it's great. I say it had great ideas. It did great things.
I think the actors are great. I think the dialogue is, I think, better than the original, than the prequels.
Yeah. Well, I like Rey's parents being no one. I think that's cool.
That would make sense for me, but then suddenly they said, "Oh no, it's Palpatine." Like, fuck off.
Yeah, right. Of course. Then fuck off. Right. Of course. But I like that her parents are no one. I like Rey and Kylo's sort of joining together only to break apart again. I like that the big bad after this, it's like, what if Vader killed Palpatine in the middle of the second movie and became the Emperor? That's cool as fuck. Of course, then they immediately just bring back the Emperor. You're right. Every good thing about it is immediately ruined in Rise of Skywalker. And then it's still silly as hell. Like, Canto Bight was boring.
Yeah. I mean,
a bunch of...
I thought it was like, okay, it makes sense. And how does this go into the main story? And it's like, whatever you saw in the last half hour, it means nothing. The movie...
Yeah, only good things from the movie, ignore those.
Yeah, it would have meant, you could have cut that thing out. You can literally cut that whole part of the movie out and nothing changes. I'm like, okay. Like, it was okay. Why? Why do you film that?
Ultimately, I think Rise of Skywalker was the worst movie of the trilogy. And I like...
Oh, yeah, like the third one is like completely...
Yeah. In any franchise, I like them being bold. Even if it comes out bad, I like when they try something.
I think
and The Last Jedi,
even though Ryan
tried.
Yeah, Ryan did a lot of mishaps here and there, and clearly doesn't understand the Star Wars world, the Star Wars universe. He has no fucking clue what it is. He doesn't have an idea what he's dealing with. But he tried. In comparison,
he tried new things.
Yeah, in comparison to J.J. Abrams, was like, do you want to see Falcon? Do you want to see the Falcon again? Oh, here's Han Solo. Do you want to see him again? Oh, here's Leia. Do you want to see him? Oh, this is C-3PO. Do you remember him?
Yeah, that was JJ's approach.
Yeah, that was.
So I liked Rian Johnson doing new stuff.
Yep.
I like that the Force doesn't just belong to Skywalkers anymore. Yep. All of a sudden, you can be a nobody and have the Force. That's cool.
So, for whatever Ryan, we can discuss what Ryan did wrong or did not wrong, or what you like or dislike. He tried, and that's like I give applause for everything else he did. How it looks, also great. That he tried to diversify everything, also great. I love it, even though people seem, oh no, it's Force diversity, fuck off. the story itself in the Star Wars universe, meh. I maybe I know too much about the universe, or I just watched it too much for like, oh, this doesn't look like it belongs in. Maybe it's like a personal bias.
I pretty much agree with you. Like, I think it's not the best Star Wars movie. I really like some of the stuff it did. I like some of the new ideas, and I like that it tried new things. And I think that we need to let filmmakers in general, all of them, we need to let all creators make mistakes. We need to let them make bad movies, because otherwise we won't get new movies because they'll be too scared of making bad ones.
I mean,
we'll just get remakes. You can't complain about remakes and rehashes and reboots and Hollywood coming up with no new ideas if you get mad when new ideas are bad. You need to let some new ideas just be bad.
I made myself like just a promise. I'm not gonna watch Star Wars anymore, and I'm not gonna watch Marvel movies anymore. I'm done. I'm gonna watch, of course, the 1 to 6 movies. And if like people have been reviewing like The Mandalorian, I'm like, I am not gonna watch it. I just don't want to.
Mando was fun, man.
I heard good things. I heard bad things. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it. I don't want to. It's just to. Every time I see something, and I'm like, maybe it's like my personal, like how I imagine, like, and because I also read and heard like the Bane trilogy or the Jedi, like there's like before the Jedi clan existed, like I heard those audiobooks, and like it's so easy to make a good Star Wars content. There's like 1,000,000 hours of good Star Wars content. You just literally need to take it and film it. Like the dialogue and everything, the scene settings, everything is done for you. You just need to take it and make a movie out of it. And they keep coming up with this stuff. I'm like, cool that you try. We talk about female lead. The Rise of the Jedi, which is like an audiobook. It's a female lead. With the same with they has a similar Kylo Ren character. It's like it came out way before. I don't know. Like I don't know, man. Like for me, it's like, oh, maybe they don't want to pay royalties. That's why Disney's doing this, or someone doesn't understand the universe or whatever. I don't know. And I'm like, no, I don't want to watch it. Can
I tell you one of my most passionate opinions on how to make good Star Wars?
Please.
I know that Star Wars fans' opinions on how to make good Star Wars are the most toxic thing in the world. So I'm sorry to give you a new one.
I also thought
here's one Star Wars fan's opinion on how to make good Star Wars. Make as many movies as you want, but the next one with the word episode in the title needs to be like Episode 48.
That's awesome.
That's my opinion. I think that part of the magic of A New Hope that was so good is it's the middle of the story. And I don't know that people knew that right away because it came out as Star Wars, but Lucas always intended it that way. It was always the middle of the story. So how cool would it be if the next one, we didn't know how long had passed. It was a new universe. There's new technology, new stuff, new concepts. The Force has even evolved. Maybe instead of 8 people in the universe total have any connection to the Force at all, maybe everyone has a small connection to the Force, because we've seen the Force evolves. It changes the number of people that are occupied.
In school how to use the Force. It's like a government sanctioned thing.
Yeah. There you go. Maybe the Jedi are bad now. Maybe the Jedi won. We don't know when. Those are later movies. Those are prequels.
And the Jedi
won.
Authoritarians. Jedi are basically, we have to destroy the dark side, and they're like everything that is even like a little bit outside of their how they imagine like is immediately punished.
Right, because fascism can have ideologies in different spectrums.
Yeah,
so you can turn the Jedi fascist.
initially it was a good intent, but then it was basically corrupted by its own ideas.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many places you could go with that. And it would free, and the big thing is it would free the filmmakers up to not have to follow the story exactly
the
off
Skywalker
of what we have.
name, the whole technology stuff, how the fashion. It could be a completely different fashion. It could take like ideas from Africa.
Absolutely.
It could take like like there's like Afropunk. It could like
Black Panther.
Yeah, you could take like like clothing from like inspired from Africa, South America, Chile, Japan, Asia in general, like Turkey and whatever, like Kazakhstan, Mongolia. Whatever. You could like take different like cultures into it, like instead of like keeping this Western samurai stuff. Yeah.
It could be. You could totally be new. And if you're going to bring in Skywalker, because they're going to bring in Skywalker, someone's got to be named Skywalker, right?
It's a legend.
My suggestion, sure, yeah. Maybe it's legend like Jefferson, like Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
He's a legend, but you still have people named Jefferson nowadays.
Yeah.
You still have that last name going around. So nobody really thinks you're important if you have the last name Skywalker.
You have like a statue of Anakin Skywalker or of Darth Vader or whatever.
Sure, maybe they fucking forgot that Anakin was a bad guy. Maybe they like confused the stories, and some of the stuff Luke did is now being said to be Anakin.
Exactly.
Sure. The true Skywalker, the one that actually inherited the bloodline, that is the Neville Longbottom. He's a side character. The side character that ends up doing something important, but it's not his story.
Yeah. He's like a helper.
Yeah,
I love this.
That's my opinion.
It could like be like Final Fantasy, right? Final Fantasy 12.5.6.8.9.3.6.5. Half drop distance drop horizon.
It'd be like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
like that classic video game.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yep.
Kingdom Hearts 2.58, distance drop aqua, version 12.
I spend a lot of time thinking about how I would reboot franchises. One of my favorite things, do you mind me going off on a tangent?
Go with it.
This is all tangents. It's tangents on tangents. One of my favorite things is you should reboot a franchise with time travel. I know that's stupid. I know everyone does it and it's horrible. But I think you should do it once your franchise sucks. Once it's so far gone that it's not the same franchise, you bring in time travel. I've got a pitch. I won't go too far into it. I think the next Die Hard movie, Bruce Willis needs to go back in time to the Nagasaki Plaza and help himself stop super terrorists or some shit. I love time travel, man. I'm not as serious about that one as I am Star Wars. I just like thinking about how to reboot franchises.
I hate time travel. I hate it with a passion. Like every time
I love it.
Every time I have I think there's one way to do time travel, which I'm like, I accept that. Everything else is shit. Even the good time travel movies like Terminator and Back to the Future and so on. All those time travel, the logic in there is completely broken. It doesn't work. Everything is shit. Movie's good, time travel bad. There's only one way to do it correctly in my mind. Or at least logically. Dimensions. Dimensions that are separated by time. Basically, meaning you have dimension A to Z or whatever, A to N. And in every dimension, you have like 1 second. It's 1 second separated. And when you move from dimension A to AZ, then you move like 5 seconds in the future, but you cannot go back to the original dimension.
I think that the logic holds. I'm going to bring it back to Terminator. I think the logic holds up in the Terminator franchise in the first one. I think if you only analyze Terminator, it holds up. If you analyze Terminator 2 too hard, it falls apart.
Yeah.
But I think that if you bring in Terminator Genesis, I think that it starts to acknowledge the dimensional theory that you're talking about. And saying every time you go back in time, you're not saving anyone. You're creating a new dimension where they're safe.
Exactly.
And I think once you do that, then Terminator starts to make a bit of sense. I once did, after I watched Genesis, which I know everyone hates, but I liked it because I love time travel. And there's a really horrible, convoluted explanation that I came up with for how the Terminator timelines work. And it does make sense. And it involves borderline infinite loops during which every time Skynet falls, they send back something.
With the dimension hopping, there are no loops. There can't be loops. Because you're not moving through time, you're literally moving to dimension. And once you leave your original dimension, you cannot go back. It's impossible to go back to the original dimension.
Because you've created a new dimension with a different timeline. You did a different thing.
It is possible to jump into the future, though, because that's also possible in our world. You can move into the future faster. Like, depending on your speed, time, because time is relative. Depending on your speed, you will move faster. You will move faster relative to the object you have been hold on. Therefore, you will move into the future. So, moving into the future is entirely possible. Moving back to the future, back to the past is not.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm just saying you can interpret different time travel situations as moving backwards into a new dimension. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if it was explained as you moving to dimension and the original one is gone, you cannot go back there. And what you're doing is basically just moving in the same direction. You move, like, you cannot, if you, for example, move before you're, like Looper, right? Yeah, you will be sent back in time. And whatever happens to your young character will have an effect on the old character. That's not possible with the dimension, because it's literally not. You're literally not the person. You're completely you're from a different dimension. You're not the person.
Right. How would they have ended up here? So you give yourself a scar, so this future version of yourself gets the scar.
Yeah.
But they've had it their whole life. They've been uglier their whole life.
Yep.
How'd they end up in the exact same place?
Yep.
How are they still here thinking the same thoughts?
Losing a leg or something like that? Losing a finger? What?
Yeah. He lost a finger, but he still ended up he lost a leg, but he still ended up an enforcer for the mob.
Yeah.
I did not understand Looper's time travel
because
rules.
It doesn't.
And I love time travel. I'll make up time travel rules to make a movie make sense. But I didn't get Looper.
There's a second explanation besides the dimension thing. Steins Gate is, by the way, the anime that introduced me to the whole dimension hopping thing. And that anime specifically says you cannot go back to the original dimension. Once you moved, you're fucked. You're gone. The original dimension for you is gone. You cannot go back because that time is gone for you.
Stephen King in 11/22/66, I think is the name of the book. He did something like that, where the character kept going back in time to try and stop the JFK assassination. Mm-hmm. And if he fucked it up, he would just do it again.
Yeah.
But then this other character starts trying to stop him, saying, you're creating too many dimensions.
Oh.
You're making the multiverse too big. Stop it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if this version is doing it, then all the other versions are doing the same.
Yeah, I haven't seen a time travel property fully explore what happens when you time travel frivolously. Fuck it, I'm gonna steal a car and drive it into Fort Knox or whatever.
Simpsons.
When you go crazy because you can time travel, what happens to that universe?
Oh yeah, yeah. What happens? What happens if a time traveler comes in, wrecks some shit up, and what happens then?
Yeah, he's gone. Don't worry, I'll fix it. He goes back in time, makes it so it never happened in his dimension that he's in now.
But the others still exist.
Does that mean he just genocided all of existence? Or did they keep? Or did they keep going with a shittier life?
Yeah. The second explanation I like to hear because it's very easy. Magic.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Once you say magic, bingo bango. Everything's toasty.
Time magic. I watched an anime called Black Clover. and the one magician has basically time magic. I was like, yep,
Sick,
I can definitely
dude.
buy that. It's time magic. Why not?
That's sick. Yeah. Once you say magic, it's like, okay.
It's a free
you
pass.
know what? I'm sorry. Magicians actually does do, once you leave your universe, it keeps going. But they don't, the Magicians being a show.
Yeah, I
and a
watched
book.
it. When I'm thinking about
I love them both. The show's very different though, and it's the only one that explores the leftover universes.
Which season is it?
It doesn't.
Oh yeah. No. I'm remembering that there's like a whole last season is, or the whole fourth season is about like how they traveling to time and all the different times that the witch turned back time and to stop the big bad guy, and then you can see all the versions.
Of them are just fucked. Yeah, some of them are just fucked.
Yeah, like so the whole world is completely destroyed, basically.
Which makes you ask, like, what are you fighting for when you go back in time? You're not fighting to save these people. You're fighting to create a new universe with these people that is better.
Oh, but that one witch is completely amoral. She's completely aware of that.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's cool, though.
That one time witch.
So I guess...
The time witch from the books, basically.
Did you read the books, too?
No, like... well, she's mentioned in the series. I didn't read the books. Maybe I should read the books. But it's like, there's this time witch, right? Like, the one mentioned in the book. And she is aware that she is trying, but only for herself. She wants to live in a universe where the beast is gone.
Oh, that's sick! I didn't realize that.
And she doesn't give a fuck about everyone else. She wants to survive.
Yeah, that's badass. Like, I like it when shows actually go into it, and as long as like the character canonically just doesn't give a fuck, then it's still interesting.
She even says at least in the series, she says, "Yeah, after you got rid of the beast, I made my own time garden, and yeah, I'm happy." Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. That's a fun show. I like that show.
But Magicians is not about like Magicians does touch a lot of things. That's why I like it as well. And the time travel is done. Yeah. That's why I never thought about this because it's done well. But Magicians is not about magic most of the time. It's about like tragic lives of people, like what people have to deal with. It's an amazing show.
I really like The Magicians as an adaptation. I like thinking about it because it's very different than the book.
Is it?
But yeah, the plot points are very different.
Okay.
But I like them both equally. It's like it does its own thing, but manages to keep some of the same interest that the books had, which is like Hogwarts. The first season, the first book is Hogwarts, but what about really? What if it were real? And so they go off to a wizarding school, and what if it were real? Well, there'd be drugs, there'd be alcohol, and magic would be dramatically unstable to the point where anyone could accidentally kill themselves or change themselves into a pigeon forever, or things could just go horribly wrong if kids had magic.
And the people that mastered the magic would then become dictatorships or just take over a planet or whatever. Yeah,
you could, with enough magic, you could create your own dimension that you ran.
Yep.
And then the next one is Narnia, but what if it were real? You know?
It just would goes be magic drugs and magic creatures would be fucked up.
Yeah. It just goes over these I mean, both the books and the show, they both do it. Yeah. They both go over these beloved fantasy worlds and just ask, but what if it were, but what about really? But what really would happen?
Yeah. And then like, what about the underworld?
Oh yeah, that's true. They go to the underworld
too. What about gods? Are they really that cool?
Yep. They just say, but what if it were real? And it's such a good format for if you were a creator trying to make a fantasy world or anything, you could just zoom into a fantasy world and just try to realize it differently.
Yeah.
And if you're if you're good at it, then you might make something really good.
The subversion of expectations done right. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones, for example.
Yeah.
I won't spoil anything, but it's just the Lord of the Rings. Not just, it's a lot of stuff. But its main influence, as George R.R. Martin will note, is J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to have a more reasonable approach. There's a quote, he says that one of his big influences is it's a silly quote, but he says, he just says that Aragorn's a good king and that he does a great job, but he never tells you what Aragorn's tax policy is.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And he just rejected the concept of being a good person equals being a good leader. So he just wanted to explore what does make a good leader in these fantasy worlds.
What if Eragon was a good king, but a shitty taxpayer?
Yeah, what if Aragorn was a great fucking person, but had no idea how to levy taxes? Then, all of a sudden, a kingdom to the south who knew how to mobilize its people and knew how to build machinery because it could tax its people could just take him over.
Yep.
Or if he taxed too much, then his people would overthrow him.
Yep.
Being a good king has nothing to do with being a good person, and that was George's whole point.
Yep. Same. The same thing goes with being smart doesn't mean you're good. Being strong doesn't mean you're invincible, and so on. This whole fantasy. What if fantasy was real, but humans still exist?
BioShock. That is. What if Ayn Rand were actually given free reign to create her world?
Yeah, it would have fucked up.
It wouldn't work, guys. Is the answer. It would go bad.
It would go bad. All political or whatever, all ideological ideas driven to extreme are there are rarely any ideas that driven to extreme can they can produce something really good. And same goes for almost everything. Everything too much is not good for us, at least for humans. Too much waste, of course we get sick. Too much water, we wash out our minerals out of the body. Too much food, we get fat, we get diabetes and so on. Too much of something, no? But
yeah, absolutely.
But coming back to magicians, because I'm talking about too much, I think season 5 was the last one, right? The latest one.
I haven't seen 5. I've only seen what's available on Netflix. So no spoilers, please.
But season 5 was the latest one, right?
I guess. I thought I'd only seen 4. 5 might be out because.
Well, what happens?
5 might be out.
What happens in the last episode of 4?
I remember. They kill the crazy guy from the castle that was taking over Elliot's body. Sister, who's also nuts, and I think she takes over Margot's body or somebody's body.
Yeah. No, she takes over someone else's body. Okay,
Julia's body.
Julia's, yeah. Okay. So then there's a season 5, which I actually thought end of season 4 was the last season. Or at least I actually thought end of season 3 was the last season, where Elliot gets taken over. And okay, this is the end. This is the end, right? And then okay, I'm done. And then season 4 came out, okay, still makes sense. And I think season 5, I'm okay, season 5, and then the ending is pretty good. I'm okay, now we're done, right? And they're oh, we maybe missed doing a season 6. I'm no, stop! You have to learn when to stop. The story is concluded. Yeah. Stop doing this to me.
I am worried about that because they're well past the books now.
Yeah, and season 5 is, I think it ends on a pretty well, you can't stop watching after that. Okay, the story is concluded. You don't need to watch more. And then I saw they're making season 6. I'm wait a minute, what? Why? Why are you doing this? I don't need this.
As a Game of Thrones diehard fan, I am quite wary when they go way past the books.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work.
But it seems like The Magicians was always like, at least as a standalone series, was also always like, yeah, it doesn't lean heavily. Nobody said, okay, you have to read the books. It's way better. It's like, oh, they're two different things in comparison to. For example,
they're totally very like different and both very good.
Something like Harry Potter is the books are better than the movies.
Yeah, well, Harry Potter's the rare example where the books are better than the movies, and yet they managed to make all the movies. Because most of the time...
they managed to make all the movies.
If the movies are worse, they don't make money. They don't finish them.
Remember Eragon?
Eragon, yeah. Eragon, Divergent.
Divergent! Oh, no, that got finished, right?
No, it didn't. It didn't get finished.
The second one, and then they didn't make the third one, right?
I think they made the third one. They were going to make the third one in 2 parts, and nobody saw the first part, and they stopped. Don't quote me. I think that's what happened.
Oh my god. I think Maze Runner did finish, but that was also like...
Maze Runner finished. That's true, and it was never that good.
Yeah.
They didn't make that much money, and the critical reviews were average.
But I think
they finished.
Yeah, the price was low, so like didn't cost much to make. So
that would explain it.
Maybe they made that way. What else do we have?
Maze Runner.
So many things.
Harry Potter, though, 8 movies, and movies were pretty good. But everyone sort of agrees, like, the books are a more complete story. Yep. There's more in it. It's a better experience overall.
I did the critical mistake of reading first.
Huh?
I did the critical mistake of reading the books first.
You did?
Yeah. I couldn't wait. I just read it and like, oh no, why did I do that? And then I watched the movies. I'm like, oh, the movies are bad. This is shit. Fuck.
Oh, I didn't think they were shit.
Not that shit, but I also compared to the books, I'm like, oh my god, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god. How about the Fantastic Beasts?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, don't.
I heard it's like it's okay if you are super hardcore Harry Potter fan, but like,
I'm like the most hardcore, and I hated those movies.
Okay.
I hated them. Ugh. Like
it's a cash cow.
It's because J.K. wrote them, and she's not a screenwriter.
She's a book writer.
But she carries over certain things from how you write a book into how you write a movie, and it's not the same thing.
Yep.
You shouldn't.
A front-end developer is not the same as a back-end developer. Two different, both technologies, but two different sets of skills.
Different sets of skills. That's exactly the problem here. And then people also hated her play because she thought she could write a stage play.
Oh yeah, the Cursed Child or something like that.
Yeah, and I read the script, and it plays like she wanted to make a new book series.
Mm-hmm.
There's it starts jumping through the years. It's Harry's son, and it goes from his first year to like his 5th year in Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just jump and be like, this is a year later. And it feels so weird. You're like, oh, I thought you were building stuff up for this year.
That's weird.
And it just feels like she had an outline for another series of books and decided to fit that whole... Yeah. Decided to fit the whole outline into a play, and it just doesn't work.
It would be cool to see, like, every year of one of Harry's kids, like one, like you have like, I don't know, he has like 5 kids, and you have one in the first class, one in the 3rd, one in the 6th, or something like that. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, that's not what she did, but that could work.
Like, if you want to show different ages at the same time, because I assume like Harry fucks, you know? Come on.
Oh, Harry fucks, dude.
I mean,
let's get that out of the way.
Come on.
Harry fuck.
He doesn't make tenderly love. He fucks. You know? He fucks.
Ginny is raw.
Come on, we can see, like, we're talking about Ginny here, okay? She has this like, oh, I'm so sweet and like, no, there's nothing wrong with me, but she fucks. You know?
She got 5 kids.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Like, Ronnie and Hermione is like, two kids. What do they do? Tenderly love to each other? Gay.
Oh yeah, Ron and Hermione are a tenderly love couple.
Yeah.
They're an anniversaries and Christmas kind of couple.
Yeah, they're like, that's sweet. 2 children compared to like 7.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we jumped 6 more years ahead, Harry and Ginny would have another 6 kids.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
Yeah, of course. But that's a joke aside. But like, of course Harry fucks. I mean, it's like, of course he does. And I would like to see like 1 year, like a cut, basically, like someone that is like Harry's kids and like older year. How it affects his life? You know, living in a shadow of like a great magician. And
they
then
won't go into that at all.
Yeah,
go into that at all. It's not like it's barely brought up. Like, oh, you think you're so good because you're the son of the great Harry Potter?
And it's, yes, I am.
Not a plot line. Doesn't really run through the books or through the play.
I mean, as a Harry's child, it would be probably pretty awesome because, like, hey, I can teach you a few spells, you know, that I learned that actually nobody learns.
That's true.
It's like, you know this, you know, not even great magicians know to use that. Here's a magical thing that you put your head into and you can see your own past.
It doesn't go into the interesting things one would think it would go into.
Yeah.
Which is why Warner Brothers said that they were buying it and they were going to make it into, they would consider making it into more than one movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fire J.K. Rowling, make it fucking 7 movies.
They will use what J.K. Rowling is going through now. They will abuse that to fire her, like the whole transgender shit she's going through. Like they will abuse the shit out of that, so they get rid of J.K. Rowling, so they can earn as much money as possible.
I frankly hope so.
I mean, it's a means to an end, right? Like it's not done in the correct sense, you know. Like, but yeah, they will definitely fire her, for sure.
So, to be honest, I mean, I too am offended at J.K. Rowling's Twitter life, but I'm also offended at her film
writing ability.
That offended me way before the transgender comments.
Yeah. I think she mentioned that in the past, like the Hermione is black. Like, yeah, that's I think that's the thing that people accepted. Why did she do that back then? You know, it's not difficult to find like a black British actress. You know, it's like they have like in Britain they have like the same amount of black people in America. Like I think even more, like 20% of the population is black. And like it's not that difficult to find a young black actress. You know, why didn't you do that?
Literary authors have been doing it for years. Yeah. All you got to do is compare her skin to caramel or chocolate.
Yep.
That's it. That's what authors do.
Yep.
You don't want to say, and she was black, so you say Ron was admiring her
caramel,
her copper.
Oh, copper.
Yeah.
His sweet, like caramel. Whatever. However she writes, yeah. Yeah,
But she did it. She actually refers to her. Yeah, that's what's nuts about JK, is she pretends to be woke, but she never puts it in the text. What she did put in the text was she mentions Hermione's skin being pale or something like that. Yeah. She mentions that she's white. What she doesn't put in the text is any mention of a Jewish kid. Later on Twitter, she said, oh, there was a Jewish student the whole time. His name was like Lee Stein. She even named him with a very stereotypical Jewish last name. On Twitter. Now there's a Jewish kid at Hogwarts from Twitter. And she pretends to be woke.
Yeah, I assume
gay the whole time.
I assume in the magic world there would be no religions because they're like, yeah, we're fighting gods. Like, we're literally fighting gods. Do you really think about religion? Like, we're literally gods.
True.
We're literally wielding the power of death in our hands. Do you really think we would think about gods and where our souls go if we can bind them to stones? We literally have something called the Soul Stone.
Yeah, they can just ask people what death's like.
Yeah. So yeah, I even if she says that, she's not thinking about her own universe, but she wants to cash in the woke points.
Wants to cash in the woke points without writing the checks.
Yeah.
And I was like totally on her side, because why would Dumbledore be openly gay? Why do we need to know who the headmaster's fucking?
Yeah.
But then she writes a movie where he's a fucking age and he should be fucking.
Yeah.
And he even has flashbacks to his so-called ex-boyfriend. That would be the opportunity to write about Dumbledore's sexuality.
Well,
if you actually wanted it to be a part of the text.
I think
but she doesn't.
I think it's not appropriate to put like Dumbledore, like the idea of Dumbledore fucking in a kids movie. But
of course,
at the end of like the series, like we all know Dumbledore. If Harry Potter fucks, Dumbledore fucks.
Fuck.
You know. He fucks, dude. Like he's like, ooh boy, that player. He at least has like 17 boyfriends, like at least. You know,
but we don't see a single boyfriend.
Yeah, you know the guy's a player, but we don't see us like in the final battle. There should be like we're all Dumbledore's bros, like real tight.
We're all Dumbledore. That should be the climax of Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah,
Grindelwald versus Dumbledore's new boyfriends.
Yeah, like the 70, but like we all know, like at you get the sexual tension from Dumbledore. It's like, boy, this guy is like, he fucks.
He fucks. It'll be a reverse Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah,
where
like
Grindelwald has to battle his 7 current boyfriends.
Exactly. Oh, that would be a great idea, actually.
See, I need to write the next Fantastic Beast.
And I think people need to get away from this. I think I mentioned this. I'm bi, right? That's why I make those jokes.
Oh, I didn't know.
I don't give a shit.
For you, man.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not for like if you force it to the end that someone has to be gay at least. But you know, I like it when it's done like casually. It's like, yeah, it's normal. It's the most normal thing. Or when it's used like as like a topic for this movie discussion, right? Like, why is the person hiding that they're homosexual? Maybe the society doesn't allow it, or maybe there's like something you can't take a role or a certain role or a certain job because of your sexuality. Like,
it's either part of the discussion,
yeah,
or it's a world where it's natural and just a part of the world, like our world.
Exactly. Like I stopped watching those CW superhero series because they're whatever.
They were always garbage, but I watched them for a while too.
Yeah,
they were super fun garbage.
Yeah, it's like you can eat so much popcorn until you get sick of it. Like popcorn is fucking great, sweet, salty, doesn't matter. It's great. And then maybe colored popcorn, but at some point, like, I don't want to eat popcorn anymore.
I agree. Man, though,
and that happened with me.
It took. I quit too.
And in that world, it's like, yeah, like gay people and straight people and bi people and trans people are treated completely normalized. It's not self-masturbatory. Like, oh. Yes, we have a gay character. Ooh, yeah, baby. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But then you have certain episodes like that specifically talk about the problems that in this world exist if you are gay or bi or whatever. And like, but the world is not presenting it as such. Everyone is accepting. So what is why are you bringing a topic that is not in the, like, the world itself doesn't build it up as a discriminatory world, but then other characters mention that it is discriminatory. I'm like, but no character.
That's an interesting discussion, because there's certainly value in presenting a world, a world where a certain social political problem is solved. There's certainly like a value to that, like in Star Trek, how it's post scarcity. There is no hunger. They can 3D print food. There's value in that.
There's no judging any people. Doesn't matter which hair color, skin color, nationality you are. It doesn't matter how you speak. It's like there are aliens around. There's no money, no concept of like belonging. It's like
right. But what if one character forced in one character going through an arc where he can't afford to feed his family? That would be like
weird,
inconsistent,
not in the world. And that happened specifically in Supergirl, because like everyone is super accepting, and then suddenly someone is not. And like, what the fuck? The world was not.
That wouldn't be a problem in that world. In a world where everyone is super accepting, and one person's a bigot, the bigot wouldn't have power.
Yeah, and then it's like, why is this a problem suddenly? Everyone is accepting, from the chef to from the boss that knows their sexuality to the friends and family. Like, everyone says, great, go for it. And then there's one character. Like, why are we focusing on that character? Everyone is accepting. and that's like, when it's self-masturbatory. It's like, oh, look at us. Look at the problems we have in our society, and look at how we solved it. Like, you didn't solve anything. It was okay when you just did it, and we're like, yep, we did it. It's normal. Deal with it.
It's very much like a very special episode. They're going to deal with it for one story arc, and then all of it
drop
solved.
It. Exactly,
there's even in that world they could still do those arcs, because they have a whole timeline where all the heroes are Nazis now. You remember that?
Yeah,
the crossover season?
They could do a whole anti-homophobic timeline, because they have a completely different timeline where they can look into it and say, look at how bad it is. Look at how we want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped shit-talking those shows a long time ago, because I think a lot of the fun is in how horrible they are.
Yeah.
But, I agree with you nonetheless.
I think it's a, I don't know, man. I come from Brazil. We have telenovelas, and that's like, if you think about high tier trash TV, that's basically it. And telenovelas are like actually a good thing to use, like, to at least not to solve problems, but to show, hey, this is how a world could look like. Like, just normalize stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't, of course, there are certain things that like we don't need to talk about anymore, because like, problem is solved. And there's certain things like, yeah, maybe we should talk about it, or it just should be normal as fuck, and we just put it in, and nobody should think about it. The moment it starts to be self-masturbatory, like you're jerking yourself off to it, that's when you lose everyone.
Agreed.
The moment you say, look at us, we're doing this, look, aren't we so goddamn progressive? And like, no, you're not. You're just using it as
it's about cashing in woke points versus actually like having a vision for whatever minorities you're trying to show.
Who's that that director who did Once Upon a Time? It's called
Tarantino? The show?
No, Once Upon a Time, Tarantino, right?
Oh, I think so. No, maybe that was Robert Rodriguez. I actually don't know.
No, I think it's Tarantino. He does a lot of with Samuel L. Jackson also. The Hateful Eight.
And that's probably Tarantino. Yeah, that's Tarantino.
So since the beginning,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay. Yeah, Once Upon a Time. Right. He consistently has black leads, black actors everywhere. He constantly put even like foreign actors and so on in his movies. He does not give a shit. He just puts in there, and he puts in good roles like that people like.
Right, and he has a for exactly why he's using them. It's not just to get woke points.
Yeah, not got to get those points. Those characters have a meaning, and they're like even like, almost role models. Like they are fighting against injustice and so on. And he gets accused constantly of being like a racist because he uses the N-word in his scripts. I'm like, okay, but what he's doing is much more what 90% of Hollywood is doing, which is basically not hiring black actors. Like, just simply not hiring them because, not a market appeal. Like, it's been tested. People don't go watch black leads. That's it. That's why they don't do it. So that's like why every time someone says, "Oh, you're for racist," I'm like, no, he's not. He's been progressive since before you were even born.
Yeah, I like most of Tarantino's work. I certainly haven't had a problem with his wokeness or lack of wokeness.
He gets accused of like what? He's just being normal. He's just normalizing everything we're talking about, just not talking about it.
Spike Lee, who tried to boycott Django. I think Spike Lee tried to boycott Django.
Yeah, and
saying
what's
that
weird.
Slavery is a Black Holocaust. It's not a backdrop for your action film, which was weird because I get it. All the advertising around Django was very adventure-y and like, this is going to be a kick-ass time, yo.
But that's not like a Tarantino's problem. It's like the advertising companies like shit.
Right. And it was a kick-ass time. It was a good adventure, but it didn't handle slavery as simply a backdrop. It was central to the story, and I felt like handled well, but I'm not a black guy, so I can't say.
And the movie was slavery bad, slavery not good.
Slavery bad.
It's like clearly slavery bad, not like slavery good. Like, these are horrible people and deserve to die.
I feel like he does a good job getting whoever he's people from the groups that he's representing involved in the creation.
Yep.
There's a problem that people point out in a lot of Holocaust movies it's about the noble Gentile who helps Jews, and the Jews are just there to suffer. As far as the story goes, they're just there to be a suffering entity for the main character to help.
Save, yeah. In Django, it's completely like, oh, the German doctor is a fucking dumbass, and he's just like,
he dies halfway through.
Yeah. I teach you how to shoot, and you can do whatever you want.
He's not the protagonist. He dies halfway through.
Because he's a dumbass.
And then in Tarantino's own Holocaust movie, he makes sure that on the squad, in the Inglourious Bastards, there's Jews.
Yeah.
And he shows exactly like, you white male 20-something viewer at home, you want to see Nazis die because it's fun and violent. Well, Jews probably wanted to see him die too. Yeah. And then one of the characters is a Jew rescued from Nazi custody to go murder everyone.
Yeah. Tarantino gets accused of many things. I'm like, but he's doing what we all want. He's like basically living what we want. Like, we want this progression forward. It's like he's doing the things that we want, but then he gets accused of doing the exact same other thing because he's not being self-masturbatory. He's not saying, look at me, I'm so progressive. He's like, just gonna do it.
Yeah, and he's even willing to rotate the spotlight onto not a white male.
Yep. Constantly. Like I think from all the movies he did, like he has constantly foreign lead actors and black actors and women and so on. Like the shape
I could see Kill Bill.
Oh yeah, Kill Bill. Holy shit, that's a great movie. Both of them.
I think the first Kill Bill is my favorite Tarantino.
I like the second.
It's tough to say.
I like the second.
A lot of fun movies
as well. I like the last scene, which is like super sad actually when you think about it.
Yeah, 100. I mean, I think they're great movies for sure. Well, anyway, Carl.
Yeah.
I think my girlfriend wants me to skedaddle.
So sorry to keep you up. But it's still not as long. Still not as long as Tuzel's. But
how long was Tuzel's?
5 hours in jail, the recording, and I had to cut it down.
Serious.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Plug your shit. Come on, go.
Okay. My name's Daniel Fiala. Find me on Twitter. That's at Daniel_Falala, Falala, I think. But more importantly, find me on YouTube, Daniel Fiala, Fiala. Start with Star Wars basically, because that's probably my best video.
I will link it.
No, Star Wars, but I'm everybody.
Yeah, everything will be linked in the description and in the top comment. Good. Do you have something to say to the people?
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Cool.
Please.
Fuck. Fuck. I forgot. Okay, quick. If you want to give anyone advice for you start a YouTube channel, go.
My big piece of advice I give everyone is you're gonna make at least a dozen pieces of shit. Your first thing isn't gonna be good, and your second thing isn't gonna be good, and your third thing isn't. You got at least a dozen horrible videos, and you even have to put them all out. You even have to have people look at those horrible videos. There's no way around it. If you want to be successful at any art form, you're gonna have to make some garbage.
Cool.
So be prepared and be willing to work through it.
I agree. I second that. Cool. Thanks for dropping by. I will not keep you up anymore.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We will see each other around. Bye-bye.
Yeah, man. Let me know when it drops.
Yeah, sure.